$300. Let's talk about what to do with $300. If you got $300 in your bank, let's go on and talk about what to do with it. As you know, my name is Jamil Frazier. I'm the founder of Think Life is Different, where we help business owners, entrepreneurs, high income earners really scale your wealth and scale your businesses. So today, man, I was thinking about, I was working with one of our students, and I said, did you know with $300 you can be extraordinarily rich? And they were like, really? And I go, yeah, bro, I just started with $300. That was it. And that 300 turned into something that that 300 turned into seven figures. Let's just talk about it, right? It is what it is. It took me a really long time to be able to say that publicly, believe it or not. There was probably all sorts of stuff that I'm sure psychologists and social psychologists could tell us the terms to these things, but it took me a while to just say, like, I have seven figures. And I want to talk about how you get there. Believe it or not, when I started out on this journey, I was clueless. And talk to me either in the comment over here on YouTube or you guys that's jumping on Facebook. Um, did anybody teach you guys what to do with money? Tell me in the comments in the chat. Did anybody, and if somebody did, hallelujah, drop their name in the comments in the chat and let's shout them out. Let's shout them out. I put a statistic out on my Instagram several weeks ago, and it said that the majority of kids, more kids are learning about money from TikTok than they are from their own parents. Let me just say this again. More kids are learning about money from TikTok than they are from their own parents. But did anybody teach you about money? I'm just going to go out on a limb and say most people, most of us, nobody taught us. So it isn't that we're dumb. It isn't that we're stupid. It isn't that we're lazy. It isn't that we don't want to build wealth. It isn't that we don't want freedom defined by time, defined by options, defined by less stress, defined by less anxiety, defined by less constraints, defined by working less. It isn't that we don't want those things, it's just you haven't been taught the playbook, and neither had I. And what is so amazing is I think 1979, I was talking to my mom, and I think my mom said in 1979 was the first year that I think that we started collecting welfare checks. And I did a calculation and I said, wow, if mom had put away and invested, I think I did a calculation, what, $150. $150 since the time I've been alive, which is 44 years, I think she would have had something close to like $3 million. And I think that's really important to understand that working for money and saving money is never, ever, 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 ever going to bring you wealth. And I think for me, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, how do you become wealthy? And I would have said, I just got to work harder. And that is not the way. You can't save yourself to wealth. You can't work harder on yourself to wealth. I mean, I grew up in a single family household. My mom was the one. My dad wasn't there. I think I lived with my dad for maybe 2 years of my upbringing, right? So I come from a single family home. I come from a home of where, mama was a matriarch. Single parents, you guys work the hardest. I mean, it's me and my wife here in my house. We got four kids, and I'm telling you, it is a lot of work. I cannot even fathom how hard it is when it's just one parent, one mama, one dad in the house trying to take care of kids. So you work really hard. Before we sold our last property, we had, most of the guys know we had acres, some acres, and we would hire people to come work on the grow. We had an avocado grow, and I would sit out there and I would watch how hard these people worked. So mama worked hard, single parents work hard, people in construction work hard, the guys that worked on our avocado grow work hard. But what I will tell you is that labor does not bring wealth. In fact, it might even prevent you from getting it. Let me say that again. It might even prevent you from getting it. So saving doesn't bring wealth. Working hard doesn't bring wealth. So what does then? Investing. Investing brings wealth. Why? Because of something called compound interest. And we all know this. This is the thing. I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. Up until this point, you're watching this, you're like, bro, you're wasting my time. Well, if I'm wasting your time, why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you getting 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100% on your money instead of paying 4, 5, 10, 15, 20, 50% on your money? You know this. You know about compound interest. You know that it's the eighth wonder of the world. You know that if mama, right, just put away $150 a month over the last 40 years, then she would have like 2.5 million. You know that even though it doesn't really compute, we know this and yet we still don't do it. Why? Why? I was scared. I was scared. I was scared because I knew that people invested and I knew that they made money. But I also knew that people invested and they lost money. And because I didn't have the training that I have now on how to actually look at the world, I looked at the world through what we call scarcity and not through abundance. And because I looked at the world through a scarce mindset, limited mentality, we also call it below the line thinking. Because I looked at it that way, I looked at when opportunities arose, I always looked at what could go wrong instead of what is going to go right. And because that was my nature, my mindset, my thinking, I I didn't do it because I thought that I would lose. Does anybody else ever feel like that? Like you just feel like I know I should be doing this, but I'm not doing it because I feel like I don't want to lose. I hate losing. Schools taught me that losing means I'm an idiot, that I'm not very smart, that I'm not very bright. I've lost before in my life. I don't like that feeling. It feels yucky. I can't even go to sleep. I feel bad about myself. I don't like feeling bad about myself. So instead of just even putting myself in position where I can win, I'm just not even going to play the game because I'd rather not play and try to save my way to wealth instead of playing and potentially losing. And that's why I didn't do it. I also didn't do it because it felt too big. It felt like it felt too big for me. You know, I was never taught about money. These words and these terms. I graduated high school with a 2.2 GPA, so it just felt too big, and it felt like I had to know so much. And it also felt like I didn't. It felt like I would maybe start playing in this game once I actually had money. These are like the 3 biggest things that held me back from doing something I knew I should be doing. 1, it, I was scared. 2, it felt too complicated. And 3, I thought that I needed more money. And so what I'm trying to tell you is you don't. When I started on this investing journey, I was making about $3,000 a month. I started using a formula. If you read any of my books, especially The Richest Man in Direct Sales, I give you a formula on how to build wealth. It's called the 10-10-10-70 plan. I was making about $3,000 a month. I just quit a job where I was making over $8,000 a month, but I didn't want to work for anybody anymore. So I had this business that I was starting, but I wasn't making very much. So I said, to hell with it, with the $8,000 a month. I'd rather be broke, and I'd rather be homeless, and I'd rather be a bum on the street than to go another day. And I don't care if I lose some money. I just got to that point. I don't care if I lose some money. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just sharing with you what happened with me. So I was making about $3,000 a month, and I started realizing that if I want to become wealthy, then I need to start managing money better. There's four parts of money. There's making it, which most people that say they don't make enough, it's because they haven't learned the skills to make enough. I was talking to someone last week and I said, "What's the most you ever have made in your life?" And she said about $4,000 a month. And she's probably been working for 25 years, right? So if the most that we've made is 4,000 a month, or 8,000 a month, or 15,000 a month, or 20 a month, or 30 a month, or 50 a month, if that's the most we've made, it's because we just haven't learned the skills to make more. If you can make 5,000 a month, you can make 50. Okay? If you can make 50,000 a month, you can make 500. Trust me. Okay? Trust me. The reason why you're not is because you have a lid. You've reached your lid and you haven't learned the skills to make more. That's it. That's it, man. I'm just trying to tell you. Okay? Like I started at 3, and and it's it's gone a hell of a lot higher than that. How? Because I have just learned how to break through these different lids. I was at a lid at 3,000. Then I was at a lid at 5. Then I was at a lid at 8, and I had to figure out how the hell do I break through 8. Then I remember I was at a lid at 12 and it was driving me crazy. Why the F is this taking so long? How am I only making 12 G's a month? Then I remember I got stuck at a lid at 18. Drove me crazy. Made all sorts of excuses, blamed everybody and their mamas, and I had to figure it out. I had to build more skills. I had to learn how to become more valuable. If you're not making more money, it is because you are not taking it serious enough to learn more skills and how to make yourself more valuable. This same person that I was talking to, I said, "Hey, well, we can extend your business and your income." I didn't even tell her what to do. I said, "What do you think you should do to go from 4 to 10?" I didn't even tell her. I just asked a question. What do you think you should do to go from $4,000 a month to 10? She told me 3 things. I said, "Do it." As soon as I said, "Do it," guess what I started getting? "Well, it's gonna require too much. It's gonna require for me, my body can't withstand that amount of work." Well, I don't what am I gonna do with my kids? Well, I only have 1 vehicle right now. And I was like, "Fuck, there's no of course you're never gonna make anything more than that." Because this person had hit her lid on what's possible for her. And when you start to hit your lid, I'm telling you, you have a limited thinking problem. You have a scarcity problem. You have a I see things in lack instead of I see things in abundance. It's not that it's not possible. You know how it's not possible? Is you just look around you and you say, okay, if I'm somebody who's running, let's just say a business, and I'm running a business, I look to my left and I look to my right, and I'm doing 4,000 a month, and this person's doing $10,000 a month. I inherently I know that it's possible to do $10,000 a month. So if they're doing 10, guess what I can do? I know that it's possible to do 10. I may not have the skill sets yet to do 10, but I know that 10 is possible. What is going to prevent me from doing 10, I'm telling you, is not 200 years of slavery. It is not Jim Crow. It is not you grew up on welfare. It is not you didn't have the same schooling or education. It is not you didn't have the same starting point. It isn't that they have more help with the kids. It is none of that stuff. If you think that's what it is, you're going to stay stuck. But it is not that, right? It isn't that they went to an Ivy League school and you went to Cal State LA. It isn't that. It is you have to learn how to build the same skills that these people have. And the only way that's going to happen is you are going to have to elevate. And the only way you're going to elevate is you're going to have to separate. Now, this is where the difference comes in. That separation isn't going to be easy. And it's not that it's actually that hard to do. It's just that it's always going to be easier not to do it. And it's just easier to make excuses and to say it's generational poverty, or my husband's not supporting me, or my wife isn't doing this, or the government isn't doing this, or I don't have the same marketing team as them, or I don't have the same automations, or I don't have the same ability to go to go let people know about my product or my services. None of that junk. It's just none of it. You just haven't built the skills. Okay. So as she started telling me why she wasn't going to, she told me why she wasn't going to scale from 4 to 10. I was like, oh, I see why you've been at this lid for 25 years. That's not possible. People go from 4 to 10 all the time. People go from 4 to 10 all the time. Why it's not possible for you is you haven't learned how to do it. So getting back to the four parts of money, it's making money. And most people aren't making as much as they want because they're not very valuable. You're just not very valuable yet. And then what happens is when you do get yourself valuable, and let's just say you go from 4 to 10, once you get to 10, you get comfortable. You start basking in this newfound joy of making 10. Or you get to 20, you start basking and you say, oh my gosh, I'm at 20. This is amazing. I get comfortable and I stay here. Well, when you get comfortable, guess what you don't have to do? You don't have to become more valuable, which means you don't have to build any more skills. So guess what you hit? You hit a lid at 20. And because you hit a lid, maybe you do have the desire to make more than 20, but you don't want to do the things that the people do to get the things. And so you start making excuses, or you just start picketing or chanting or hoping that the next presidential candidate that's going to come in is going to give you, 25. I don't know. So we got to learn how to make money. We got to learn how to manage money. This is usually where you're going wrong, is you don't know how to manage it very well, and neither did I. And so when I started making $3,000 a month, I said, okay, I got to start managing it. So I start following a management plan called the 10-10-10-70 rule. 10% of my income, I'm going to pay myself first in the form of savings. So if you have money just sitting in a bank account, not earning anything on your saving, that is a wrong thing to do. At minimum, move that money to a high yield savings account where you can get 4 or 5% return on that saving. So I started saying, okay, out of this $3,000 that I'm making, 300 of it is coming to me first, and I'm putting it into a high yield savings account. Another $300, I'm going to invest this. What am I going to invest this in? I'm going to invest into that scary thing called the stock market. Well, should I invest it into like an individual stock? No, because that seems really risky. But maybe I can invest it into like a whole bunch of stocks at once in like an mutual fund or an ETF or something like that that holds all of these really big companies, right? All these massive companies that we all know of, Metas of the world, Facebooks, the Googles, the Teslas, the Microsoft, the Berkshire Hathaways, like all these really big companies that we go and we shop at and we buy stuff from, right? The Amazons. I know those names. Maybe there's something that I can just invest this $300 in, and maybe I can invest it into something that holds all those companies so that it's not so scary. So if one of those companies don't do so well, well, I got another 200, 300, 400, or 500 companies that is this $300 dispersing across, right? Blue chip companies, great companies, companies that's been around for a long time. Let me just become a little bit of an owner of them. I'm tired of just working. Let me start to own something. Okay. And this other 300, why don't I find a charity to give this to? Right. So what that means is now I got $900 that's coming out of that 3,000 just like that. I'm only left with $2,100. So I need to know how to manage this money because I got to get all of my bills. I got to get within this $2,100. Well, I can tell right away when somebody is not serious about being successful. You know what they'll do? They are going to start to give you every reason in the world why you can't keep your that $2,100, why you can't keep your bills within what you have left over. And for some of you guys, it's not going to be 2,100. For some of you guys, you make way more than 3,000. So for some of you guys, it's going to be like 7,000 or something. For some of you guys, 15,000, whatever it is, right? But we know that basically 30% is coming off the top, it's shaving right off the top. And so I got to start living within 70% of my income. Now, people are terrible managers. You're a terrible manager because you're going to start telling me why all your bills can't fit within this 70. Well, Jamil, ah, I live in Southern California. Do you know how expensive it is here for housing? You know, I can't send my kids to public school. I got to. Do you know how far my job is? I got to have that new Range Rover. I got to have that new Hyundai. I got to have that new Nissan. I got to. I got to. I got to have it. I got to have all of the apps. I got to have the Netflix, the Hulu, the Prime. My kids, they got to watch that stuff. I gotta eat out. I gotta spend five, six, seven, eight, 900, $1,000, $1,100 on eating out and groceries. I got to. I can't adjust that. I gotta go get my hair done. I gotta get my nails did. I gotta go out with the girls. Chris Brown is coming into town. Chris Brown for real is coming to San Diego. I even want to go see him. But you guys are gonna say Chris Brown's coming into town. Chris Brown's coming into town, bro. You guys put a one in the chat if Chris Brown's coming into town. Chris Brown's coming into town. I gotta go. Right? What's the other ones that people go to? What's the thing out in the desert here in California? You guys know what it's called. What the thing they wear the boots in the hats? You know what that music festival thing is? Um, yeah, but I gotta go to that. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing the things that we have to have. It's amazing the things that we have to have. I told you, in order to elevate, you're gonna have to separate. In order to have a breakthrough, you're gonna have to have a breakup. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. And I always know somebody who's not serious when they start with all the junk, with all the bull jive, is what I call it, with all the junk. If you're feeling, go and give your boy a thumbs up if any of this is making sense. With all the bull jive. Well, Jamil, I had a girl cry in front of me because I told her she had to get rid of Netflix. I had another woman literally get pissed at me because I was like, you are not going on that trip to Hawaii. I had another grown woman executive make $500,000 a year. Was literally, I met with her in a restaurant. She started crying because I told her you can't go to Disneyland anymore. You're $100,000 in debt, and you want to keep going to every freaking Disney land in the world? What is wrong with you? What's wrong with you? No, for real. What's wrong with you? You're $20,000 in debt and you think you've earned the right to get your hair done? You're $30,000 in debt and you think you can spend $1,000 a month on a shopping spree? What is wrong with you? What's wrong with you? It don't even make sense. What's wrong with you? You're living paycheck to paycheck, but you want to get your nails done all the time? I go into your closet and you got 50 pairs of the same damn shoes? What is wrong with you? You're a terrible manager. You're just you're not good at it. You make really bad decisions. I was talking to somebody the other day and they were like I'm not even gonna say. It was like my mind was spinning listening to their logic. And I was like, am I the only one that can see the situation that you're in? Is it just me? You're telling me, but it's not registering to you how jacked up your situation is. Like you're saying it, but it's not computing because you're still saying dumb stuff, even though you're telling me what your current reality is. It's amazing. It's mind blowing. But that's how you manage it. Number 3 is no lazy money. I learned how to make the money. I learned how to manage the money. I learned how to invest the money. This money has got to start making free money for you. That makes free money for you. That makes free money for you. That makes free money for you. I need generations of free money. Why? Because every single time this money makes money, that makes money, that makes money, that makes money, that makes money, it means I get a step closer to freedom, 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 freedom. Now, here's the deal. At the beginning, it was just $300 and it don't look like that much. $300 in 10 months is only $3,000. If I get a 10% return on that, that's only $300. That don't look sexy. You mean, Jamil, I'm gonna give up? I could spend this $3,000, and you mean I'm only gonna make $300? $300 for absolutely doing nothing is the sexiest money you can ever make. Oh my God. If it was a real person, I would date it. I would freaking lick it up and down. I would, I would. The best money you can make is money you don't have to do anything for. And I don't care if it's $300, $3,000, $30,000, $300,000. The best money you can make is money you don't have to do anything for. And somebody with a warped mentality would say, "You want me to give up $3,000 so I can only make 300?" And I look at them and I say, "You're not serious about building wealth. What is wrong with you?" There's 3 pots you really want to focus on. You want to focus on basically money that I need right now, money that I need sort of like in the next 2 to 10 years, and money that I need for the future. Now, here's what's dope. When my little brain self started seeing that 300 start making money, I started getting super excited. I was like, bro, I just made $300 for doing nothing. You mean if I can put a little bit more in there, if I could put more than 300 a month, can I grow to 6? And if I could do more than that, can that grow to 9? Now it became a game. And I was like, how can I get to a point to where I can, instead of putting 300 in here, how can I, bro, how can I get to 5? How can I get to 10? Right? How can I get to 1,000? How can I get to 2,000? Then you get to 2 and it's like, how can I get to 3? How can I get to put in $3,000 a month? Then you get to 3 and it's like, how can I get to 5? Then you get to 5 and it's like, oh, that little 10%, 12%, 18%, 6% isn't just $300 that I'm getting anymore for not doing anything. Oh, that's a lot more than that. How can I get to $10,000 a month investing? Why? Because I got a taste of that, what that free 300 was. I got a taste. It was like a crackhead that got a hit. I was like, oh, that you guys gonna have to bear with me. I know people I've been training for years is like you say the dumbest things. I know, but I have a very eclectic background. And I've seen what happens when you have a drug addict just get that hit. You like, oh, I got, whoo, I need another one. As soon as I start seeing that free money, I was like, oh, how can I, bro? How can I get to investing 10,000 a month? You mean if I invest 10,000 a month, download something called a compound interest calculator. Compound interest calculator. You can just start playing around with it. No, not Burning Man. It's the one that's over here in like Palm Springs where they have the music festival. Burning Man though is something I do want to go to for real. My mentor used to go to Burning Man all the time. I was like, I didn't know you. Hey, you got some stories you need to tell me. But it really is like that, right? So once you start to see that success, then for me at least, that turned me on. And I was like, okay, well, how can I make more? But more importantly, how can I keep more? What am I spending? How can I get the spending down? How can I get my expenses down instead of 70%? How can I get them to 60 so I can take that extra 10% and put it towards that first 10% and I can invest more instead of only investing 10% of my income? How can I invest 20%? Then I was like, how can I invest 30%? And then I was like, how can I get my spending down to 40% so that I can start investing 40%? I'll save another 10% and I'll give another 10%. And then I was like, how can I get my spending down to 30% so I can start investing 50%? That's how we hit seven figures so damn fast. It only took like 5 years because I got so turned on by how this whole thing worked. You mean I can make a ton of money for doing nothing? And all I got to do is invest it? Yeah. I went from paycheck to paycheck to seven figures in 5.5 years. Starting with $3,000, starting with $300, right? Starting with that. And then the fourth part of money is how do I how do I protect this money through taxation? And that's a whole nother video for a whole nother day. But trust me, I don't care. I don't know where you fall politically or whatever, but most people I know kind of want to keep their money, right? Like, let me decide where this money is going to go. And you guys know my management 10, 10, 10. That last 10 is for charity. So I believe in charity, but I believe in me distributing charity the way that I want to do it, not have somebody distribute it the way they want to do it. I have no idea what these people are doing. And I'm just telling you, these people are not very good with money either. Have you looked at our deficit lately? Like, you want to go to a money manager that's actually about it, not somebody who keeps showing you that they're terrible at managing money. I don't know if you're picking up what I'm putting down, but they are not good with managing money. Everybody should be able to agree with that. So if I'm charitable, maybe I should keep this so that I can make the decisions where to disperse this so that I can help my fellow man and my community, right? So, because that is the case, there are tax advantages, loopholes, legal loopholes. We don't get wrapped up in evading taxes, but we definitely get wrapped up in avoiding taxes. And that's the fourth part. Because if you can keep more, then you can scale more. So $300 is really where it started. Anything else I want to tell you guys on here? So really, man, you got two choices. You got two choices. You can spend this money on things that's going to make this money go down, or you can invest this money in things that's going to make this money go up. Those are your choices. Unfortunately, most people spend it on things that's going to make the money go down. There is about 100 million Americans that don't invest anything. Adults. Unbelievable. But it's not. But it is believable because I did it 10 years ago, right? Like I didn't. I was 30. I'm 30. I'm 44 now. I was 30, 33, 34. I didn't. So I get it. Most people aren't planning for the long term. I have no retirement. I have somebody come to me and they're like, I have $100,000 in retirement, and they think that's good. I mean, it's better than not having anything, but I mean, that's if you're 60 years old and got 100 G's in retirement, what the hell are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that? So, like, just most people aren't doing. Most people are short sighted. Remember, I told you I got my short term bucket, and my medium term bucket, and I have my long term bucket. Most people only think about the here and the now, in the short term. My medium bucket, not very much of anything there. My long term bucket, I am hoping Social Security comes through. I'm hoping something. I got my fingers crossed and my toes crossed too. I got everything crossed, hoping that something's going to happen. Because most people just aren't. And when I say most people, I am talking about people that are making six figures plus as well. They're almost worse than people who are not making six figures. They are the worst when it comes to those four parts of money that I just talked about. Um, so there you have it, folks. It doesn't take much. Start with 300. Start with one. Start with $100 a month. Start with $50 a month. You don't have to be smart. You don't have to be bright. You don't have to know how to do this stuff. You don't and you don't have to be a crusader. You just have to pick a certain amount, okay? $50, $100 to start with. Now, do you want to stay there forever? No. You do want to continue to do that, but there's a lot of other things that you can do. But bare minimum, man, most people aren't even doing that. $300 a month. If you like this, go on and leave comments. Let me know what stuck out for you, whether you're over here on Facebook or whether you're watching this live on YouTube. Would love to hear one or two things that you really took away from this. Would really love to hear that, and let me know if any of this really resonated with you. It was a little bit of a funny sort of live for me, just because our mindsets are really what makes us or breaks us. And I talked a lot about scarcity versus abundance. It really does make so much of the difference. But if you love this, go on and leave a comment, go and subscribe, especially if you're over on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, go on and click that link so you can go over to YouTube, press the thumbs up, leave a comment over there. I do this every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I call it Money Mondays. So you can leave questions in here too. Me and the team will get back to you. And we will talk to you soon. Until the next time, adios, amigo.